Hi, I'm Leah Taylor-Roy. I'm a Member of Parliament for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, the best constituency in the country, and I'm a member of the Liberal Party. I ran for political office because I feel that it is an incredibly important thing to do. I think that contributing, if you can, and if it's your thing, if it works for you. I mean, there's lots of ways to contribute, don't get me wrong, but for me, I grew up in a political family. My father had run several times. He had been mayor. My brother is mayor. I was actually living in the United States when Donald Trump was elected. And it scared me. It scared me. And quite frankly, that was one of the reasons when I decided to run. I thought, you know, we can have that kind of, and it wasn't our perspectives on issues. It was really how it divided communities and people, what it did to the country and the questioning of democratic institutions. And I thought it was dangerous. So I thought, you know what, if I can help, and of course I believe in liberalism, if I can help, then I'd like to do that. Well, I always like to joke and say, you know, as a new MP, you're just trying to figure things out. So finding out where all the bathrooms were was a really big one. But on a more serious note, I think for me, the important work of a member of parliament is being a representative. So meeting with people in the riding, just really getting to know the riding and kind of reestablishing that connection between constituents and the member of parliament, because I think that the future of our democracy depends on that. So there's been definitely things in the House, but for me, serving the community and making sure that they feel represented, whatever their viewpoints, whether it is whether they agree with me or the policy of our government or not, it doesn't matter. It's my job to listen, to take that as input, and then to bring it to our caucus and represent my community as best I can here in Ottawa. What motivates me every morning to get up and go into work are many different things. I think there's so many issues. It's just, you know, every day you wake up and, you know, watch the news, you look at what's being debated in the House, and right now, for me, climate change is a really major issue. It's something that I feel like we all have to pull together on. Trying to make the House a more civil environment, like trying to make it more inclusive and trying to work together in a better way. I feel like our politics has also become very divisive. And of course, I'm a feminist, a women's rights defender from way back, and so when I see things happening where women aren't being given the same rights or the same opportunities, and that can be here in Canada, but it's often around the world as well. So there's many issues, and of course, just the issues of our affordability of our country, what's happening here, and the challenges that we're facing given the COVID pandemic and how that affected the entire world. And then this post-pandemic economy, which I think in some ways is even more difficult. So it's really about trying to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to help Canadian families, to help Canadians to manage these difficult times. Well, I really didn't realize the fact that you're almost running a small business in a way. So you're running your office, you're running the constituency, the legislature. There's a lot of administration and organization that I hadn't really anticipated. I thought I'm going to be working on issues, I'm going to be working with constituents, and hadn't really anticipated all of that. So that was one aspect of being a member of parliament. But in terms of politics, you know, I believe that pretty much everyone in the House of Commons wants the best for Canada. And but we have differences in terms of how we think we should get there, what it takes to get there, and what is needed to support Canadians and ensure that Canadians have a great life and that we contribute worldwide. So I think that feeling that we are all in this together, even though our parliament is in a way structured to be rather divisive, is encouraging. Working across party lines with other members is incredibly important for several reasons in my mind. One is that each one of the members in the House represents a different area of Canada. So we want to have all of Canada represented and all of the Canada in every discussion. The division I talked about earlier, we actually make progress to unifying the country as we unify the House. And I think that being able to sit down and civilly discuss differences and make progress, not just criticize, but work together to try and actually move forward on things, is really important. So there have been a few examples, but I'll give you one recently. We formed a small all-party caucus of members to try to work on some issues helping the actually women members of parliament from Afghanistan. And so that was a really rewarding experience where I worked with the Green Party, NDP, Bloc, and Conservatives. On the environment, I do that often. I work with Elizabeth May as well. But the NDP, the Conservatives, I really try to have conversations and to work across party lines to bring issues forward. Challenges to democracy are many. You know, obviously, it's been in the media recently about foreign interference. I think that's always been an issue, and it's been an issue from many different places, not just China. But I think that for me, it's actually civic engagement, which is why I'm so glad to be part of this and to see CIVIX working on these different issues and to see students involved. We have to be sure that government is relevant for Canadians and for young people if we want to keep them engaged. Voting is incredibly important, and I think it's often the importance is overlooked. So I feel like the lack of engagement, the lack of relevance, which is why I went back to being the representative, in my mind, is one of the most important roles of the Member of Parliament. We have to make sure government is relevant and that people feel that their voice matters and that the government is actually doing things to help them. The next generation gives me hope for the next generation. We are making progress. I think we in Canada in particular, we have an incredibly well-educated, we have a kind and compassionate country in many ways. And I think it's the combination of that, of the intellect and the motivation with the compassion and caring for other people. Those two things together. And then we put that on top of where we live. We have incredible natural resources, a beautiful country, and a country that is made up of so many cultures, peoples. Immigration has always been our strength from the time Canada, the first settlers came. And now we're starting to realize also and acknowledge and change our ways to incorporate the Indigenous people, the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, to make sure that we are truly inclusive and representative. And I think it's that strength of having all these different groups moving forward and working together that really gives me great hope for our country. What advice I would give to myself when I was 16? That's interesting. Well, when I was 16, I actually went on my first trip abroad to work on a project. I went to help build a school in Haiti, in the mountains between Dominican Republic and Haiti, and I volunteered for the summer there. And I think, you know, I was very idealistic. I still am. I believe idealism is really important. But I think the sense of balance. You know, we have our opinions and we have our beliefs, but to be open and to know that there's a lot we don't know and that everyone is doing the best they can given where they're coming from. And I think that really helps in terms of a sense of acceptance and a sense of collectivity moving forward to solve problems. So I think it would be just not to be quite as extreme, to be a little bit balanced, but not to lose the passion.